Rev up your engines. Okay, I'm going to help you answer an interesting question today. Should you buy an auction car? And should you buy an auction police car? 2014 pursuit vehicle, there it is, police interceptor. We bought this thing for $3,500 4 months ago in Georgia at an auction. Now, the thing that really means something in this case is the EMS. This was not an actual police interceptor where they're chasing after people. Because when you chase after people, they beat the heck out of these things. The police often idle them for thousands of hours, which ruins an engine. In this case, it doesn't burn any oil. The body's in good shape. If you get one that was used as a police vehicle, I generally frown on people buying those because they have too much wear. Now we're going to see how much wear this thing has, but first we're going to open the hood. The one thing that these have a problem with, if you don't take care of them, V6, and it has that stupid water pump that runs off the timing chain. Ford did that because they said, oh, they warm up faster, they get better gas mileage from less friction. Tiny bit, doesn't really mean that much. The main problem is, the water pump's driven by the timing belt, which is soaked in oil. If the water pump breaks and leaks, the water goes into your engine oil. It will destroy your engine extremely quickly. Let's say you're driving down the road and it snaps off. It'd be the end of your engine. All that water get in the engine and would destroy it. An external water pump, on the other hand, if it broke, the water just leaks onto the car and you see the temperature gauge, you turn it off. Now, apparently conservative, you would buy this thing and put a water pump on it, but it costs a lot of money because it's inside the engine with the chain. So here's what you could do. Check your coolant religiously. If you're not losing any coolant, it's not leaking. You start to hear rattling noises from the front of the engine. It's wearing out, and then you definitely want to change it. You want to keep your eye out for those things. It's not a horrendous thing, but interesting enough, there was a class action suit against Ford. But Ford won. You know, anybody can see it's a stupid design. But what do lawyers and judges know about machines? Very little, right? It's not doing anything yet. So, I've seen these things, a couple 100,000, they're still going, they've never been changed. But if they start to make a noise, you definitely want to change the water pump. And you might think, since you got to take it all apart, you might as well replace the timing chain while you're at it. I mean, it will only make sense. But, as it stands right this moment, considering he only paid $3,500 for it, he's been driving it 3 months, it doesn't burn oil or anything, I think he got a pretty good deal. We'll see more as we check through it. But, again, I have to make a point that this was an EMS. It wasn't a police car chasing after people. And my police friends in Houston, when I lived there, they hated these things because they liked the Ford Crown Vic with a V8 engine, big old Panther platform. You could pit people low enough to the ground that they don't flip. SUVs, you're doing maneuvering like that, they have a tendency of flipping. Remember the old Explorers that people called exploders because the tires blew? It was an argument whether it was the tires or whether it was the Ford Explorer. Well, I know the truth. It was both. Black wheels with the chrome hubs. It's got the police light, and we look in the back. It's got the little cage. Now, being a police interceptor, gas mileage is not one of their big deals. The police don't pay for their own gas, right? Either do paramedics. He gets about 21 miles a gallon on a highway and in the teens in the city. But that's not what these things are for. These things are for chasing after people. In this case, it was doing medical stuff. So, you know, you want to be somewhat in a hurry. You don't want to take your time. So, here we go. Diagnostics. It's making the noise. That means that it's doing its thing. Here we go. It's already detected it. We know it's a Ford. It's not a European one. And we'll do a standalone diagnosis because we don't need to memorize any of it. It already read the VIN. That was quick. The IVC, 3.7 liter automatic gasoline, federal emissions. Okay. And here we go. We can do a full topology scan while it's doing it. We'll look around and hey, for one of these vehicles, this thing was taken care of. The seats aren't ripped. I mean, of course, being an EMS thing, I'm sure they didn't have too many criminals in the back seat. Okay, now it's got 14 trouble codes, but a lot of them probably won't mean that much. We'll start with the ABS, which of course is an add-on system. See what the trouble codes are. And realize this is going to be a registered in Georgia vehicle. They do not do inspections, just like here in Tennessee. So you don't have to worry about any of that crap. And here we have, look, all these codes are lost communications, control voltage, battery voltage. You're gonna get all that with a weak battery, so that's already been replaced. No one ever bothered erasing the codes, so we'll erase them now. When he bought it, it was completely dead, so he went to AutoZone and bought a battery. So, hey, sometimes there's an advantage to buying a dead car if the only thing wrong was the battery. Well, those are all gone. Let's see what the instrument panel again. Probably not much of anything that we even care about. Invalid data, lost communication, battery voltage. So we'll erase all those. We don't care about them either. All because the battery was weak. Last thing we're gonna look at, there's 2 codes and the body control module. We'll see what those stupid codes are. And here we go, it's communicating. Turns all this stuff on and off. The computer's doing that, not me. And look. Said, beep the horn that time. I warned him the horn was going to beep. Ford's computer software is doing that. Here we go. Lost communication, key and switch. We really don't care. We'll erase those too. So, in terms of trouble codes, there's really nothing wrong with it. I like the fact that it has a real key, so we'll start her up. Main data out of the PCM. Here we go. We'll look at live data. Waiting, like I say, it's in excellent shape. Now you see there's a big hole here because all of the communication stuff they had, you don't get that when you buy the car, so that's gone. Although it still has the cup holders in the back. Here we go. Remember, black is good, red is bad. Let's start looking at the data. There'll be a lot of data because it's a relatively complex car. They're all black so far, which is good. You can see it analyzes all the camshafts and there's no fault in any of them. So that shows me the engine is in excellent shape. The camshafts are not worn. For more data, even shows you the cylinder head temperature, all the transmission range data, no fault in the fuel adaptation, meaning it's running pretty good. Look, airflow trim learned, okay? Minus 0.21. That means it's 79/100th% off. That's pretty good for a vehicle that's got 130-something thousand miles on it, right? You can't argue that. Oh, let's look at all-wheel drive data. That's normal too. Battery voltage is good. He put the cheapest battery he could buy in, so evap system is good. Shows you the percentage of the fuel pump. These are very complex systems. The fuel pump only runs at certain percentages depending on the load, and that's normal for an idle. Even shows you all the data on the charging system. Fuel percentage, which is about 15%. Which makes total sense because they just started using the 15% ethanol gas for the winter here. Hey, these things are pretty accurate. Now, this is a flex fuel vehicle. It can run on anything from no alcohol, ethanol, to E85, which is 85% ethanol. Now, he's running it on gasoline, but he did try it once with the E85, 85% ethanol, 15% gasoline, and he used up so much gas, he never did it again, and I don't blame him. And these things, you'll get as much as 25% less gas mileage running E85 ethanol, because ethanol has less energy than gasoline, hence it takes more of it to power your car down the road. So, unless you live somewhere where ethanol is dirt cheap, or you're a farmer and you make your own, use regular gas in these things. Injectors, no faults, that's working perfectly. 6 of them, it's a V6 engine. So let's take it for a spin. First thing I noticed, seats are super comfy. And it is smooth, let me tell you. This is one of the best $3,500 cars I've ever seen. We'll take it out to Tobacco Road, give it a little run, but hey, I'm telling you, this thing's in good shape. Here we go down Tobacco Road, and it is all-wheel drive, so it should perform pretty good in the rain. Like I say, 305 horsepower. It's nothing to sneeze at, all right? And here we go. The traction control worked fine. Oh man, this thing's in excellent shape. No problem, smooth shifting. The traction control kicked in, the wheels didn't spin, the all-wheel drive worked great on a wet road. Man, you got a deal on this car, let me tell you. But I still have to say it. If the police are driving them, they're probably going to be falling apart. This was an EMS one, which is different. Because if the police are driving them, believe me, there's hardly anything left. Now, I've also had people buy these things when they were used for private security. And in that case, mainly they sit around. The only thing you got to worry about that is idling time. Sometimes they will idle them forever, and an engine was not made to sit and idle for thousands and thousands of hours, in which case it will internally wear the engine out just sitting there idling. So in this case, no. Now I went to an auction in Georgia and it started out at $500 and he got it for $3,500. So don't be dismayed by low prices at auctions. A lot of times they'll start pretty low. To get something like this for $3,500, now it's the perfect vehicle for testing in a rainy day. The all-wheel drive system, the ABS system still works. quite well. And of course, the interesting thing is you can't buy a vehicle like this as a private citizen except used after the police or EMS are done using them, because they don't sell them to the public. They have special suspension, special stuff. And this one, hey, it was built right. They do build them stronger, I'll say that. This is much better than an average Explorer that I get in. That's much weaker, doesn't have as good suspension. And hey, so what that you got all this stuff in the back seat? Think about it. You can throw your kids in there and they can't get at you. Although with the hole here, you could hear them. I'd have to block the hole up too. The whole thing, not just two sides. You'd need to block that up too. But hey, I gotta say, this car's been taken care of for $3,500. Hey, it wasn't an auction. You're always taking a chance. But if you're going to buy one of these or any car, but especially these at an auction, here's what you have to do. You have to research what you're buying. This has a 6-speed transmission. They can last a really long time. Take a 2020. They got 10-speed trannies that break. He saw some of those. He didn't buy them at auction because he knew the problems that they had. But something like this with the 6-speed that can last, a non-turbocharged V6 engine with 305 horsepower. Don't poo-poo all auctions, but realize it's not like going in a new car. I want to buy this car, here it is. No, you got to learn a lot. Who drove it? Was it the police or was it the EMS? Does it have a turbo or does it have a 10-speed transmission? You got to learn all that stuff. You can ask me, I'll teach it to you. But for what he paid, for what he got, what a phenomenal deal. Just going to an auction in Georgia, started at $500 and he got it for $3,500. As is here, the only thing he had to do was put a battery in the stupid thing. So, hey, have a little knowledge, you can save an awful lot of money. And as he told me about the water pump, he said, I'll do it myself. I said, you know, it's pretty involved. He says, no, I work on my own cars. He says, I'm going to save thousands of dollars. I'll do it myself. And you could if you really want to learn. It's not that bad. But getting something like this in this shape for $3,500, what a deal. And if you're curious, here's where he got it. govdeals.com. Government stuff, govdeals.com. Pretty good idea. He went through it and went to the auction and away he went. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.